Chair Howe,
Here.
Commissioner Krieger,
Here.
Commissioner Donahue,
Here.
Commissioner Mercier,
Here.
Commissioner Tang,
Here.
5 present, none absent. 0th is the acceptance of the August 22nd, 2024 minutes.
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes with the addition of Commissioner Donahue's comments on fake licenses.
And what were those comments?
Commissioner Donahue noted that it might be more effective for the Lowell Police Department to charge the perpetrators to reduce the number of instances of fake IDs.
Motion to amend the minutes by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Mercier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Application by Juan Breton, Latinx Community Center for a special events permit for amplified outdoor public entertainment for live music and cultural performances to be held at the Lowell Hispanic and Latinx Festival, September 28th, 2024, from 1 to 9 p.m. at Boarding House Park. Juan is joining us on Zoom.
Good evening. So this is the third year that we're hosting the festival. This year we have moved the location to the lower boarding house park. We'll have live music, a DJ, a couple of cultural performances, and this is just an amplification permit because we will have music on site.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Did you say cuckoo performances?
No, cultural performances. Cultural
okay.
performances.
I'm sorry, I misheard. I'm old.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Donahue to approve, seconded by Commissioner Mercier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Juan, good luck with your event.
Thank you.
Application by Maya Shah, Director of Gurjar, the Gujarati Association of New England, for a special events permit for amplified outdoor public entertainment for the Gurjar Heritage Festival to be held Saturday, September 14th, 2024, noon to 6 p.m. at Sampus Pavilion, 160 Pawtucket Boulevard.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Maya Shah.
Thank you for appearing. Please tell us about your event.
So we've been doing this for last 6 or 7 years. It's the Heritage Festival where we have vendors, and we have also our cultural and folk dances, etc., that performances our young generations do there. So it's a lot of fun.
A lot of good food.
Yes, a lot of good food.
Questions or comments from the board?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Donahue, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good luck with your event.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Application by Samantha Miller, sole proprietor of Psychic Readings, for a fortune teller license for 546 Rogers Street.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Hello, my name is Samantha Miller.
And Commissioner Donahue, do you have a question?
No, I was just, she wondered whether she should be stepping up, and I just did it.
And you're here for a license for fortune teller?
Yes,
I move approval.
I just have a question. This is on Roger Street, and the sign has been there for a number of years, hasn't it?
yes,
Yes, and you've been doing business there?
yes.
But
My
you just
mother
found-
had been there, they had the business, I would say, for over 25 years.
Okay. And you just found out about the license requirement?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had the DBA, and then the license, we had found out that it was required as of earlier this year by Mr. Pyers.
I've heard no problems about it. Second.
How's business? Are you busy?
It's more of a, like, something we do for enjoyment. I have a shop that is in Brookline. I'm a wellness life advisor in Brookline, so it's just more of just like for fun. It's this time of the year, it gets very busy, but it's, we love what we do. We've been there for so many years.
Thank you for appearing.
Thank you.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Tang, seconded by Commissioner Mercier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Applications by Steve Severson for 3 special one-day licenses to sell dispense wines only for the following events at Arts League of Lowell, 307 Market Street. Saturday, September 14th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m., Draw Lowell Confluence Reception. Sunday, October 20th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m., Frozen Yellowstone, 3 Perspectives Reception. And Saturday, December 14th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m., Creative Gifting, Holiday Gifts Reception. I
Steve on Zoom?
do not see Steve here.
We could put that at the end.
Got it.
Thank you.
Application by Elaine Adabong for a special one-day license to sell dispense wines and malt beverages only for a family reunion from 7 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. on Saturday, September 28th, 2024 at the Hellenic Center, 41 Broadway Street.
Is Elaine Attabong here? By Zoom either?
Nope. Okay.
Another one to the end.
Application by John Herbert for a special one-day license to sell dispense wines and malt beverages only for an engagement party from 4 to 10 p.m. on Saturday, September 21st, 2024 at the Old American Legion, 684 Westford Street.
Good evening. Please state your name.
John Hebert.
And could you please tell us about your event?
Sure, it's an engagement party for my daughter and future son-in-law, so we're just looking to get 50 or so people there to kind of celebrate their next steps.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Commissioner Donahue?
I had one question, and maybe Mr. Pires could answer it, too. I noticed on the original application that Mr. Hebert didn't have an address on his application.
He did supply his address after.
He did supply that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, and you have bartenders?
We do. They're all tip certified, so
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Krieger?
So the American Legion does no longer have a license?
I don't believe so. It was purchased. It's not the American Legion anymore. It was privately purchased. So I'm not sure
Okay.
if that carried over.
They do not.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Tang. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Enjoy your event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application to transfer a second-hand motor vehicle used car dealer Class 2 license for Ramex Auto Corporation, Stefan Reyes Felix, President, for premises at 511 Middlesex Street.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Evening, Stephanie Felix.
And this is just a transfer of license, no additional cars. There's still 8 cars.
Yes.
All right. Questions or comments from the board?
That-
Commissioner
Go
Krieger?
ahead, Krieger.
Go with Donahue first.
Commissioner Donahue?
It's tucked back on Middlesex Street, right above the,
Correct.
yeah, it seems like a well-kept lot. Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Krieger?
There's about 12 cars on the street outside the auto sales area. Who do those belong to? Are they part of your operation? Are they people living in the housing nearby?
No, right now. We just try to get the license right now to start do the transfer and sell cars. I'm from Brazil, so we are trying to help our Brazilian community here. So right now we run a mechanic there, but we also will start selling cars for those people.
But those 12 cars on the street, a couple of them from New Hampshire or with New Hampshire licenses?
I do not recognize those cars, sir.
Okay.
It's not from our shop.
Any other questions from the board?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Mercier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application to transfer a second-hand motor vehicles used car dealer Class 2 license for Crane Deals Incorporated. Christopher McKeeby, President, for premises at 66 Canada Street.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Good evening to you all. Christopher Mukibi.
Thank you for coming in. And this is a transfer of an existing license?
Sure.
Right. Commissioner Donahue, you have a question?
Christopher, I went down Crane Street today, and is the lot that you're going to be using the building that has a 8 bays of, for cars to go into,
Yes.
brick building,
Yes.
next to the condemned building.
Yep.
Okay, it kind of needs some cleaning up, that area. I was concerned for the neighbors that live in the area, that it's jam-packed with cars inside the fence, right?
Yes.
And some on the street.
It's not on the street. It's inside.
There were cars on the street in front. One was a Audi up on a trailer. I don't know if that's yours.
That's not mine.
That's not yours?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm concerned that it needs a little sprucing up, the area, cleaning up,
Right.
okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's important for the neighbors.
Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah, I use my iPhone to go to the address 66 Canada. That's the nail salon. So I'm assuming that Apple's wrong and you're right, because this house across the street's like 56. But your place is not obvious on this map. Is it the dark-colored building?
Do you want to approach to see the map?
Yep.
Do you want to come up?
Come on in.
Can you show us where your place is on the map?
Yeah, this would be Canada Street here.
I think it's the,
Street is inside here. You cannot trace the way exactly, but
I think
it
it's,
should be here inside another street.
this is Canada Street, right here?
Here, right here.
Right here.
Oh, that's,
Oh, right there, that's Canada, yeah.
Okay, so the
Okay.
long building here,
Yes.
and next to it is the condemned building that has a fire notice on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
You good?
yeah.
Thank you,
It needs some work.
thank you.
Plus, I'm a Naples guy, not a Rome guy.
Any other questions or comments? I like Rome.
Yeah, but for football,
Any other
I
questions?
mean, that stadium in Naples.
approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mercier, seconded by Commissioner Tang. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. You're approved.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck. You're welcome.
Violation hearing regarding a communication from Gregory Hooten, Superintendent of Police, dated August 5th, 2024, regarding allegations of misconduct charged against the Middle Street Village Incorporated, doing business as the Village Smokehouse, 98 Middle Street, Alan Kaplan, License Manager, All Alcoholic Beverages Restaurant Licensee. Allegations of misconduct occurred August 3rd, 2024, regarding failure to comply with all laws and regulations, including access to premises by police and agents.
Good evening, Counselor. State your name.
Travis Jacobs for the licensee. Good
Thank
evening.
you. Captain Peasley, would you like to read the complaint?
Yes, Madam Commissioner.
We'll waive
Thank
the reading.
Motion to waive the reading?
Accept.
Approved.
Thank you.
All right. Counsel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I understand that we have the ability to watch some security footage from that night.
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, excellent. So
If
that
we
would be
could-
great.
If we could watch that first, that
Yes.
would be great.
Actually, there are two separate videos. One is record off of the iPhone, and then another one that's a longer 6-minute video. Counsel, did you want the longer 6-minute video or the shortened one?
Let's do the longer one first, because I think that's everything that's in those other videos anyway. Thank you.
Can you see?
Yes.
Up in the top left corner, you can see out the window to the exterior. And you see if we rewind it again, you'll see a gentleman in a black shirt, black t-shirt. That is one of the managers, Tim Kelleher. And then you see to his left in that top left window, I believe is one of the law enforcement officers who he's talking with. So you can see Mr. Kelleher's back is to the front door where individuals are walking in. And then you can start, at this point, you can see that the compliance officers have already made their way. I believe that's one at the bottom of the screen right there on the left with the hat. And then at the top, next to the gentleman in the purple shirt, to his right is also one of the compliance officers with the hat, the t-shirt, and the cargo shorts. And my understanding is that he is talking with that door person about the purported incident. Same thing with the top left at the front door. You see another young man, I believe a compliance officer with it looks like a black shirt with a beige hat on. Now, at this point, the alleged incident has completely concluded. The compliance officer at the top right corner was just getting information, the name of the bouncer, and one of the other doormen, copies of their IDs and things. But at this point, the majority of the compliance officers have already made their way inside and are conducting the compliance check. And I believe that law enforcement officer whose back is against the right-hand side of the screen is just finishing up his information gathering. And we can stop it there. I think that's good enough unless you want to watch any more. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Counsel.
This is video after the alleged incident.
So it's video when the incident occurred outside and then the immediate aftermath. So in the top left corner of the screen, you see that window, that tall vertical window. And you're welcome to look at it again, but in that window, you can see outside, and you can see Mr. Kelleher kind of standing like this. The door to the entrance is behind him, and he's talking to one of the compliance officers who's in jeans, sort of in front of him to his right. And then the doormen are at that door where you see people coming in and out. The next thing I'd like to do is just, I understand there's a few law enforcement compliance officers here. I'd love to get their take on, what happened, what precipitated this incident.
So would we,
Yeah. So
do you want to call them, Detective Bean?
I don't know any names. Thank you. Good. How you doing?
Thank you. Please state your name.
Detective Thomas Fian, Lowell PD.
Thank you. Why don't you tell us what happened when you arrived?
Yeah, absolutely. Upon arrival to the location, we put ourselves off with dispatch and notify, hey, we're at this location doing a compliance check. Myself and my colleagues arrived. The bar owner stood outside. He acknowledged us. We acknowledged, informed him what we were doing our compliance checks, and he said, okay, fine, no big deal, right? He knows what's going on. It's not a surprise for anybody. I was the detective initially trying to make entry into the main entrance where there was a individual working for the owner managing the door.
And this door that we just saw?
The one out front, right. We're all wearing, as you can see, it says Lowell Police on the back, same badge on the shirt, clearly police officers. We go to the door, I was the first one there, and just tried to walk in. And I was stopped, which is fine. There's a door, there's people in line standing outside waiting, so a little bit of chaos, no problem. He stops and says, hey, Lowell Police, we're coming in to do a compliance check. At that point, the individual stated, no, you have to wait. I said, no, we're Lowell Police. We're coming in to do our compliance check.
And let me stop you there. When you were speaking to this individual,
Yes.
Was Mr. Kelleher still outside?
Yes, he was behind me at the time, so I had to pass him in order to get to the door.
Right, approximately how far away was he from you when you were speaking to this individual?
I believe at the time, probably 5-10 feet. It's not far.
Right.
So again, speaking to an individual, gave him multiple times, and then I had to, raise my voice because we're trying to be, as just get in and get out and do our thing. We're not trying to create any issues with the bar or the bar owners or the patrons at this time. It got to the point where something had to happen for us to get in because he put his arms out, refusing to let us in. At that time, my boss, Lieutenant Coyle, stepped in, and that doorman had to be physically removed out of the way to allow entry for us to go and do our job.
And when you say physically removed, could you describe what you saw?
He had his arms out like this, preventing us from getting in. So just had to take one of his arms and just pull him to the side to get him out of the door, so me and my colleagues could enter into the establishment.
And how many officers needed to do that?
It was just one officer grabbed him, brought him, escorted him further away from the door.
And is that officer here today?
Yes, Lieutenant Coyle.
Lieutenant Coyle? Oh, yes, we'd like to hear from. Please state your name.
Lieutenant Steve Coyle, Lowell PD.
Thank you for being here. Could you please tell us what happened that night, adding on to your colleagues, specifically with physically moving this gentleman?
We were assigned to do alcohol compliance checks. We went to the smokehouse. We signed off with dispatch, just like we always do at a certain time, so it's recorded in the CAD that we were there at this time. I do the same thing. I stand on the street side, just beyond the sidewalk. Mr. Keller was right to my left, probably where this attorney is sitting, and I overheard the commotion at the door with Detective Feehan, and Detective Krug, I think, was behind him. Detective Feehan raised his voice, said, "You got to let us in." I lifted up the barricade. There's like those bank roll-out nylon barricades. I lifted it up, walked in, grabbed Mr. Netto, who's the doorman that works for Mr. Keller, and just said, "You're coming with me. Come over here." And I escorted him out to the street with me, and I said, "Just stand there for a minute." Then they made their entry to do their compliance check.
And when you grabbed him, what did he say? Anything? Did he try to resist?
No, I've been to Mr. Kelleher's establishments numerous times for compliance checks, so they mostly know me. When he recognized me, I think he just knew he had to get out of the way.
And how long, your colleague, Detective Feehan, how long was he trying to get this gentleman to move out of the way?
For a time frame, I don't know, but I think he told him at least 3 or 4 times to get out of the doorway. He couldn't hinder him from coming in. I had a conversation right after I removed Mr. Netto from the doorway and stood him in the sidewalk. I turned to Mr. Kelleher and said, "You know you can't hinder us to get inside the establishment."
Right.
They
And what
did that.
what did Mr. Netto say as to why he wasn't letting him in?
Nothing. Not a thing.
I'll open the floor up to other commissioners.
Madam Chair, may I ask maybe a few small clarifying questions?
Yes.
Lieutenant, this incident took place at 12:15 a.m., is that correct?
I'd have to refresh my memory.
This is a copy of the police report. Do you see this?
It says occurred from daytime at 12:15, yes.
Okay. And would it be possible to play the first video that played, the one that looked like it was shot off of an iPhone? And I'll represent that this was a video that was submitted by Smokehouse's counsel, and this video depicts the same event but has timestamps at the bottom. And could we pause right there?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, Lieutenant Coyle, the timestamp at the bottom of this video, which counsel has represented as the same but just less clear, is 12:20 a.m. Is that correct?
I can't see the video.
Oh, if you would like to come up here just to see it. I need glasses nowadays.
Yeah, the timestamp says 12:20.
Okay. And so, Lieutenant, would you agree with me that the footage that was depicted earlier, that took place the incident took place outside of Smokehouse, not inside of the restaurant? Or
Correct, it
inside
was
of
on the
restaurant?
sidewalk at the front door.
And so, Would you also say that from approximately 12:15 a.m. to 12:20 a.m., Lowell PD was unable to enter the premises?
I don't know if it was a full 5 minutes.
All right. I have no further questions, Madam Chair.
Counsel?
Just on that point, so 12:15 a.m.
Oh, can you go to the microphone, please?
You
Thank
can
you.
take my counsel.
Thanks. Do you mind if I sit? The 12:15 a.m. time period, or timestamp, would that be the time that you or your colleagues called into dispatch?
It should be, yeah.
Okay. So would you say it maybe took about 5 minutes between the call into dispatch to entering the premises?
It depends how you want that question answered. When we get right to the door, we call off. So that 12:15 is when we get to the door of the establishment.
Okay. Because you had testified that you called into dispatch to let them know you were making your way to the smokehouse, but you were already there at that time?
If it's stamped at 12:15, that's what time we called in the radio.
Okay.
All transferred from the CAD.
Okay. What was the door person who put his arms up? What was he doing at the time, just immediately before putting his arms up?
I have no idea. I looked over once I heard Detective Feehan telling him to move.
Do you mind, is that better posed to you? Sorry. What was the doorman doing just before putting his arms up?
Well, there was a line of people at the door, and I can only assume that he was managing the line of people in the door and preventing people from coming in without being authorized to come in. So as I approached the door, he obviously saw me coming, and he turned, and he said, well, hold on, right? Which, again, I can understand. If you're working the door, you're managing the door, and someone's approaching you, I get it. So I stopped, but then at that point, you know, I announced myself as Lowell Police and in my Lowell Police uniform, you know. But so as far as what was he doing? Managing the door.
Okay.
That's it.
So he was managing that chaos
Yeah.
that was there.
Well, there was a line of people and,
Yep.
and then the door, so he's managing.
And would you say part of his job was preventing people from entering before having their IDs checked and being patted down?
I don't know exactly what his job description is, but I can assume that he's managing the door.
Okay.
So, working the door.
And what exactly were you wearing? What was, literally, what were you wearing when you approached the doorman at that time?
Yes, as you can see, it says Lowell Police on the back. It's a T-shirt, has the same badge on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly my firearm radio badge right here. You can clearly see me on the video when I walk in. So, I verbally announced my presence, and then I think we could all see it's got the badge. Firearm.
Can we just go back to that first video for a second? I just, if we can have, I'm sorry, is it Detective Coyle?
Fiat.
Oh, Fiat.
Yep, no problem.
If you could just identify which person you are in the video. So those two people right there with the hats, those are police officers?
Yeah, those are detectives.
Now, I don't see them wearing a badge or
Right there.
firearm. Were any of the other compliance officers carrying their firearm? And
Yeah, it's required to have your firearm on duty.
I can't
Top
see.
left of the shirt is it's a badge emblem. You can see it right there. That's Detective Elmore.
Yeah, but so it was about.
Right there. So see,
Is that you right there?
no, I'm
Oh.
the guy with the notepad right there. Talking to the two doorman with the
With the
hat.
beige hat?
Yeah, I got the notepad going.
Okay. So if you approached someone at the door with this chaotic scene, is that badge on your shirt right now? Is that about the size of the badge that would be on the other shirt?
Yeah, about the size I would say. Maybe a little bit bigger, but it's very close.
And how much time do you think elapsed between when he put his arms up and Detective Coyle came over and grabbed him?
Well, he put his arms up after I announced myself as a police officer multiple times and said we're coming in.
Do you-
So he knew I was a police officer, If that's the question that we're trying to get at, if you think, yes.
I'm just-
At some point I said, I'm coming in, and he put his arms out. It wasn't the first encounter, it wasn't the second encounter. I said, I'm Lowell Police, and I'm coming in to do my job.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand, because, you know, we're here to violate a licensee, right? Which is a serious offense. You've been to this establishment numerous times in the last 12 months, right, for compliance checks?
I have, yes?
Ever have an issue there?
Me personally, no.
Okay. In the last 12 months of compliance checks, have you ever had an issue entering the premises?
This would be the first one,
Okay.
me personally, yes.
How many times have you done compliance checks there?
This year, I don't know the exact amount.
You say more than 10?
I've been doing this job for 10 years, just in this branch of the police department. I've been to Mr. Kelleher's establishment numerous times, double digits times. Mr. Kelleher knows me personally. We talk when I come there. His doorman knows me personally. He knows each one of my detectives personally. They knew who we were, they knew what we were doing, and they still chose to ignore our entry.
You testified earlier that you got the impression that as soon as you grabbed him, he recognized you, right?
He knew that I was going to remove him from the door, and he went along with it.
But
he had no problem hindering Detective Feenan's entry.
But you did state
And Mr.
that,
Kelleher watched this event, which I had a conversation with Mr. Kelleher after I removed that doorman to the street, and I said, Tim, you know you can't hinder our entry. And he said, oh, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Can you think, just as a side note, can you think of any reason after years of compliance checks with no issue entering, why would a licensee suddenly decide, I'm going to hinder their entry?
I would
Bring the
object to
doorman.
that question. It calls for speculation.
I'm not
No,
going
it's
to
not
answer
a
that.
court of
Bring the
law.
doorman, ask him.
Okay. But you did testify earlier that when you went over and grabbed the doorman, you kind of felt like he recognized you and
I
knew,
turned him around and he was looking right at me.
okay.
And I'm all business when I go downtown. There's no goofing around. It's time to get down to doing business.
And so as soon as he recognized you, you said he knew we were coming in, right?
Yeah, just-
Okay.
He told me that.
Now, in that video, other than a very tiny printed badge on a t-shirt, all the officers are wearing hats, t-shirts, cargo shorts, sneakers, and it's almost difficult to distinguish between those officers and the other patrons trying to get in. Is it possible that the doorman misjudged who was trying to get into that premises?
You'd have to ask the doorman, but I'd say no.
Okay. Are there any kind of protocol or procedures for how law enforcement are required to approach a licensed establishment to identify themselves?
It's just common sense. We're walking around with badges on our chest, bulletproof vests, guns, cuffs, badges on our belts. We explain to them we're Lowell Police. I don't understand I don't understand the question.
Well, the t-shirt isn't a badge. It's just a printed image, right?
This is a badge.
And but not the t-shirts that they're wearing in that.
Same thing. It's a badge on his shirt, there's a badge on his shirt, there's a badge on my shirt,
But those t-shirts in the video,
and they have the same badge.
but it's just printed, right? It's just like
It could be embroidered.
okay. You can buy those t-shirts online, right? Or similar ones.
I hope not.
If a licensee has someone enter the establishment who's underage or isn't properly patted down and comes in with a firearm, or maybe they aren't patted down properly and they come in with drugs, right? That licensee can be subject to serious penalties, right?
I assume, yeah.
Okay. I mean, the whole purpose of doing the compliance checks is to see if a licensee is doing those, things at the door to prevent underage people from entering, right?
I don't look underage. Neither does Mr. Feenan.
I know. But I'm just saying there's a lot of incentive on a licensed establishment to prevent people from entering the establishment before their IDs have been checked and before they've been patted down. Would you agree?
I would give you that Mr. Kelleher does a great job of checking people before they go to the establishment. And Mr.
Excuse me,
Kelleher knows each one of us.
I'm not hearing what you said, Lieutenant.
Oh, sorry. I said, I would agree that Mr. Kelleher's establishment does a great job at checking the patrons when they come into the establishment for IDs, for whatever weapons they might have. I've watched it. But we have the same entry every time we go there. He knows as soon as he sees me that we're there for a compliance check. He was upset that night because we were there for a compliance check. We had that conversation before they even got into it with the doorman.
The compliance check resulted in no discovery of no underage patrons, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And in the last 12 months, none of the compliance checks done at the smokehouse have resulted in any underage patrons, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. Just back to the protocol or procedures. I didn't know if you gave an answer, but are there any protocol or procedures in place for compliance officers to identify or make it known to the door people who may be different on any given weekend? Is there any procedure in place to make sure they understand that this is an actual law enforcement agent and not, just some, 25, 30-year-old kid trying to bring a gun into the place?
We do the same thing when we get there. They know we're Lowell Police. We say we're Lowell Police. Tim knows we're there for a compliance check. Tim's known me for 10 years doing compliance checks. I don't know if I have to scream at Tim and say, I'm the Lowell Police Tim, I'm here for a compliance check. But we do announce our presence. They did walk up to the doorman, who turned his back on them and put his arms out to block them from coming in. If he didn't do that, we wouldn't be here today.
What about the badge? Is there any kind of protocol to take the badge off your belt and hold it up and say, the printed thing? Yeah. But you have the gold-colored badge, right? The official.
Badge, yeah.
Yeah. Any policy or procedure to hold that up and say, hey, we're here for compliance check?
Just have to display it.
Okay.
It's displayed.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
I have a question. The fact that this gentleman was not letting you in, did that raise red flags for you?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because I don't ever want my detectives dealing with the doorman in that kind of state. I don't know if the doorman's trying to get somebody to leave the back door of the establishment. I don't know if the doorman's trying to tell somebody that we're there, somebody that's not supposed to be there, or somebody that we might catch in there. I don't know why he's hindering our entry. Anything that happens that's not in the norm would be a red flag for us, for our own safety.
And when you brought Mr. Netto over to the side, he gave you no explanation on why he wasn't letting?
I didn't ask him. I never asked him for an explanation.
Has he given anyone an explanation on why he didn't let the police officers in? Does Mr. Kelleher know?
Yes.
Oh, could you come to the podium?
I wonder if I could ask the lieutenant one question.
You can bring him back.
So Mr. Netto was born and raised in Brazil. He was a 14-year police officer. He came to this country legally. Mr. Netto works at the door outside every night, cold, rain, whatever it is. He does all of our patting down. His job is to secure the door and pat everyone. I said to Mr. Netto, what happened with the guys? Because I was out the sidewalk talking to the lieutenant and I think the sergeant. And his answer was, the door was busy. They came up to the side. I put my hand out and I stopped them. And then that's when the lieutenant came over. That was the answer he gave me.
And he didn't say why he didn't let the detective in?
So picture if the door is where Attorney Jacobs is, we have stanchions that go down the sidewalk, and everyone forms in the line. Mr. Netto was at the door here, patting everyone down. The detectives came behind him to go behind him, and he put his arm out because the door was clogged.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Kelleher?
I have a question.
Commissioner Mercier?
He's saying he put his arm up to prevent them. They identified themselves as police, but it seems like there was a few minutes there that he held his arm up. Why would he keep doing that is, I guess, my question.
So I was outside, I was literally probably 5 feet away talking to the lieutenant. I didn't hear Detective Feehan say Lowell Police or anything like that. He may have, he may not have, I have no idea. And it wasn't minutes, it was, if you watch the video really slowly, you can see Mr. Nettles in a white shirt, and you can see the detectives come up, and it's maybe 10 seconds. It's not a long time. You can watch it on the video. If you want to.
Can you have the microphone?
You gotta rewind it all the way to the end. The beginning, excuse me. So if you watch, the police are in the left-hand corner, they're coming up the side. Mr. Neto is in the white shirt, he just turned. He's patting down a couple of people, I'm assuming, out there. And then there comes the lieutenant. And there's Mr. Neto in the doorway in the white shirt, and I guess at that point he put his arm out. And then the lieutenant came over. It was 10 seconds.
That's not even, that's 5 seconds. So can you rewind that again? You can actually see in the top left window screen, in the top left window screen, you can see the law enforcement officer walk past that window, and then one of the other officers dragging someone away 5 seconds later. And ready, 2, 3, 4, there it is. 4 seconds.
I honestly just think it was an honest mistake by the doorman, that maybe he didn't know Detective Fian. He absolutely knows Lieutenant Coyle.
So just a follow-up, how long has Mr. Nato been working the door?
He's been there over, I would say, close to a year now.
And he's been there before when the police have come for the compliance checks? He's been on the door?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Donahue, you have a question for Detective?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Madam Commissioner, may I just make a statement in terms of the law?
Oh, yes, I just want to make sure, counsel, are you finished?
Finished with my questioning. I was just going to make a short statement as well.
All right, you can wait till after.
Sure.
All right.
Madam Commissioner, it's important to note when the legislature wrote this law, they specifically used the word hindering. Hindering doesn't have a time frame on it. Hindering doesn't mean 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Hindering is the immediate non-compliance. And the way the ABCC will tell you to describe hindering is if you're not helping, you're hindering. And so there isn't a time frame. So we can argue in semantics about whether it was 2 minutes, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. But the fact that this doorman ignored the 2 or 3 different commands from a police officer and prevented that entry, that's the crime. That's the crime of hindering. Hindering is the immediate non-compliance. So I just wanted to clear, it doesn't matter whether it's 2 seconds, 3 seconds in the eyes of the law.
Thank you, Captain. Counsel? Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah. What I want to know is if Mr. Keller was talking to the lieutenant and the lieutenant moved, why didn't Mr. Keller move with him to help clear the situation up?
Oh, can you come to the podium, please?
I was talking to the lieutenant and the sergeant, and I didn't know why he moved because my back was to the situation, and the lieutenant went over there, grabbed Mr. Neto, and by the time I turned around, the lieutenant had him out of the doorway in 2 seconds.
Thank you. Counsel?
Thank you. Just wanted to quickly point out a few key facts. The video, I think, is very informative. It shows that this was not minutes. This was not arms up, multiple times. This was seconds, 4 seconds it looked like. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but the gentleman to my right behind me, he did testify that as soon as he grabbed the doorman, he recognized me and understood that we were coming in. To me, given the very short time frame, the chaotic scene, you have a doorman whose entire job is to make sure that nobody enters without being their ID checked or patted down. He's never had any prior incident. It sounds to me like he saw out of the corner of his eye some people trying to go through, and he put his arm out, and then, seconds later, he gets dragged off. I don't think there is any intent here to impede anyone's access. 4 seconds was not going to make a difference. But also, the establishment has never had any prior issue with allowing compliance officers in. And so, if the intent was to impede their access, you would think it would be a greater than 4-second incident. But two last points. There are competing interests here. On the one hand, you have licensees who are facing serious penalty if they don't pat people down and keep underage drinkers out, or keep firearms and weapons out. Those are serious problems. So they have a great incentive to make sure that nobody enters. But then you have a competing interest of law enforcement wanting to get in, obviously in clothes that they're wearing ball caps, T-shirts, cargo shorts. They do kind of blend in. Maybe there should be some sort of protocol in place where they are required to just bring out their badge to show that they're not just some other patron trying to pull a trick to get in. And with that, I would ask the board to dismiss this violation. Thank you.
Can I have one more question, if I could, for the police
Commissioner
officer?
Mercier?
For the lieutenant or the detective, all the compliance checks you've done in these, at these establishments, are you wearing the same thing every time?
It
The
depends
vest.
on the weather. Usually wear a T-shirt in the spring, summer, fall. We might have a sweatshirt or a bulletproof vest outer carrier. It could be different. It depends on the weather and the elements.
So would you say you've been to this particular establishment another time wearing the same thing?
I don't know if I was wearing the exact same thing, but I only have so many shirts that I wear that have badges on the chest, so I'm sure that at one time or another I wore the same shirt.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion by the board? I'll start. I just looked up the definition of hinder, and the definition online is to create difficulty resulting in delay or obstruction. And from my listening to the facts, the Detective Fian, the fact that he had to call on Sergeant Coyle, Lieutenant Coyle, to assist and to remove this gentleman, that to me defines hinder. The statute, if that gentleman were arrested, the statute is a fine of $50 to $250 and a prison term of no more than 2 months. I understand he was not arrested, he recognized you, but I do find that there's a hindering. I also take note of Lieutenant Coyle's testimony about, the fact that they weren't being let in, and the concern that caused. So I do credit that. Those are my thoughts.
Do we know, is there some fine or some closure being held in abeyance against the smokehouse?
There are none at this time.
None. Commissioner Donahue?
I believe that there was a hindering, but I also know that Lieutenant Coyle would not take too much to move the gentleman along. But my concern is, although this man has worked there for about a year, I'm wondering how his training has been that he would try and hold somebody up, or if he's incapable of managing the door. Those are my questions. And I find that there was a hindrance. Thank you.
Commissioner Mercier?
So for me, I just
Commissioner
feel,
Tang,
I'd like to hear if there is a proper protocol, like to identify yourself before you to make an announcement, other than the badge. Do we have a protocol just that with the Lowell Police?
I'll let Lieutenant Coyle expand if he wants to, but Lieutenant Fian clearly testified that he announced his presence at Lowell Police Vice were coming in. And there is no, if you're asking a written policy about how we get in, no, there's no policy. We can't have a policy for every kind of entry we do at it, whether it's a house or a home. But he announced his presence. He was legally authorized to enter that premise as a Lowell police officer and a agent of the License Commission, which you guys stand on. But he did testify that he announced his presence.
I know that he said he made an announcement. Is that a usual practice that they just wear with badge on the T-shirt to enter the premises to do a compliance?
Again, Lieutenant Coyle can expand if he wants to, but that's their uniform. They don't wear full police uniforms like a patrol officer does. But the doorman, who I think Mr. Keller told us was a former police officer for 10 years in Brazil, right, should have immediately recognized another police officer. So our vice guys wearing their badge, whether it's embroidered, whether it's a gold badge that you can hold, as long as with the bulletproof vests, their radios, their handcuffs, their guns, I think that clearly would establish them as police officers, without a doubt. And the fact that they've been there numerous times.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krieger?
Was there a language problem with the doorman? Native speaking Portuguese? Did he understand English?
Commissioner Mercier?
I feel that even the initial where they may have come around him and he put up his arm, just the fact that it took the officer, I believe he testified 2 or 3 times, to tell him that they were Lowell police, I think is a little too much. And it seems like there was an attempt to hinder them from going in. It's just my thought. I don't understand how, after you announce yourself as a police officer, that he automatically wouldn't just comply and let them in. That's all I got.
Commissioner Donahue?
As I said previously, I find that there was a hindrance. In the scheme of things, and with the way the lieutenant handled the situation, I think it was handled quickly and efficiently. I'm going to make a motion that we find the hindrance and suspend the license for 1 day, and I'll hold that, and the motion will continue further. That be held in abeyance for a period of a year.
Motion on the floor, so stated. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Krieger. Discussion on the motion? No discussion? Roll call?
Commission Chair Howe.
Yes.
Commissioner Krieger.
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercier.
Yes.
Commissioner Tang.
Yes.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. I know that Mr. Syverson. Oh, counsel.
If I could just, if I could just suggest making a recommendation, if the board is going to make a ruling that there was a hindrance, recommending maybe a fine instead of suspension of a day, held in abeyance for a year. It might save everybody a lot of time and energy on appeals and things.
Commissioner Donahue?
I'm assuming, counsel, that their intention is to appeal. You're looking for, rather than the day, to have a fine. Number one, do you have a recommendation? And number two, it's my understanding that if it is appealed and you get down to the ABCC, they can easily just impose a fine. Is that correct, counsel?
That would be correct, Commissioner Donahue. Although typically, well, I suppose the ABCC will examine, most of the actions of the commission, but if they were to find that, correct.
If they were to find.
Correct.
That there would be a fine, and that would be. Counsel?
Given the video, and I understand, there's testimony and there's different perspectives, but given the video, the time that elapsed between the officer walking over and then the other detective pulling the doorman away, about 4 seconds, I think a small fine of maybe a few $100s is justified It does send a message. You've concluded that there was a hindrance. You fine this particular licensee. And, you know, it's also a licensee who has not been violated in a very long time. I haven't seen you all in a very long time, which is what the board wants and the town wants, is a good license.
And I thought, you knowing, probably having been here on a number of occasions, that I take these matters seriously, and the hindrance of a police officer, I think, is important. But I did take into account the time frame, I think, 1 day, suspended for a year. I think that's pretty, for me, lenient.
And held in abeyance.
Yeah, held in abeyance.
It's just a year is a very long time.
Would you take 6 months?
Sure.
Motion to amend the,
No? Okay.
No. I'd like to ask the solicitor, this is an issue of first impression for us, where a complainant or a bar has asked for us to issue a fine as opposed to what we've just done. The fine could be $10,000.
Right.
What is?
If I'm being candid, Madam Chair, it's not an issue that I have confronted in reading a number of ABCC decisions either. I think that the best possible way to maintain the issue on appeal, and as the commission is aware, I'm the advisor to the License Commission, I'm the attorney for the commission, and if there's an appeal, I would represent the commission on appeal. I feel very comfortable defending this should it be appealed to the ABCC. The Lowell Police Department's recommendation would be that the 1-day suspension be maintained to avoid the first impression issue with setting a fine in lieu of a 1-day suspension.
Right.
So that would be my advice, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I mean, Counsel, we've never done that. I appreciate you asking.
Can we divide the fine amongst ourselves, the 5 of us?
So that the motion, we've already voted on that motion, and so it is held in abeyance, and you haven't been here, he hasn't been here for years, so.
Yep. Okay.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I know Mr. Syverson is here.
Yes. Applications by Steve Severson for 3 special 1-day licenses to sell, dispense wines only for the following events at Arts League Lowell, 307 Market Street, Saturday, September 14th, 2024, 3 to 5, Draw Lowell Confluence Reception, Sunday, October 20th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m., Frozen Yellowstone 3 Perspectives Reception, and Saturday, December 14th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m., Creative Gifting Holiday Gifts Reception.
You're never late.
My
Please state-
apologies. My phone went dead and the alarm went with it.
Please state your name for the record.
Steve Severson.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Are you going to be selling gifts on the 14th of December?
On the 14th of December. Yes, it's a regular reception for that show. So we're selling artwork for the Christmas gift world.
Okay.
Our hope is to sell artwork.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thanks, Steve, for coming in.
Thank you. Do I owe you?
You can, yeah, that's fine. Last item is request for a public hearing for an application by Tijuana Grill LLC, Dane Villanueva, proposed license manager for a new all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license for premises at 45 Market Street. It is requested that legal notice be published in the local newspaper and public hearing to be held on September 26, 2024 at 6 p.m.
Motion to schedule a public hearing on September 26, 2024 at 6 p.m. by Commissioner Tang, seconded by Commissioner Mercier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good evening. Thank you.